Okay, thanks, Brooke, for doing this. And what month did you visit New Zealand?
I went in February.
Okay, and how many other people did you travel with?
I traveled with two girls. There was three of us all together.
And how long did you stay in New Zealand for?
We were there for just 8 days.
Gotcha. And where did you start at?
We flew into Christchurch and rented a car and then made a loop and ended up in Christchurch 8 days later.
Okay. And what activities did you do mainly there in over the course of the entire trip?
Sure. We actually, what was really fun about the trip is that it was definitely planned out. We had a structure, kind of a skeleton, but it allowed for a lot of spontaneity. So as you're driving along, there's tons of hiking paths just right off the road. And in New Zealand, they don't tell you how long the path is going to be. They tell you how long it's going to take to do it. So you'll see like a path to a waterfall, 40-minute hike there and back. And they were
Hmm.
actually pretty right on with the estimates of time if you just hiked it. And so we did lots of short hikes along the way. My favorite activity was kayaking in Milford Sound,
Hmm.
and also hiking on the glaciers in Franz Josef and Fox Glacier over there on the eastern side of the island.
Were those day trips most of the day or part of the day for those?
Those were all just day trips. Everything you can get there. We would get there like the night before, and then the next day till mid-afternoon, morning to mid-afternoon, we would do the activity, and then get in the car and head on to the next spot.
That's great. Did you get to meet some locals?
Lots of locals. The people in New Zealand are so nice. I'm used to traveling in Europe where you don't necessarily get a lot of welcoming people when they find out you're American. You kind of have to prove yourself that you're a nice person even though you are American. New Zealand was completely different. They were delighted that you're American. Quickly, I realized you didn't even have to apologize. You could just be who you are. They loved you. So it's
What?
kind of like being in the Pacific Northwest. They were that kind of nice, only
Uh-huh.
even more so. They were so gracious, so kind.
And what year did you visit it for context?
Sure, 2010. So just
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, and as an American, did you find it expensive there, or about the same as American prices?
Actually, it was cheaper. It was
Okay.
quite expensive. The American dollar, at least when I was there, stretched went really long ways, and we were able to find really nice lodging for not very much money. And food, we ate phenomenally while we were there, and yet it was all quite inexpensive.
Well, that's good to
Yeah.
hear.
Uh,
When so some other things that you really love doing, places or experiences that you'd highly recommend. You mentioned a few before, and any
mhm.
any others you'd recommend to visitors.
Absolutely. Queenstown is a really fun city. There's a lot to do there. That's where bungee jumping was originally invented. So for
Hmm.
the adventurous type, we did have one of the girls in my group did do. It's called a canyon swing, where you like swing down. Basically, it's a free for all for a really long ways. I think it's the height of the Empire State Building. You free fall, and then it
Crazy.
swings you out over the canyon. I didn't participate in that part. I like more of the active sports, so I liked
Yeah.
the kayaking. I went on lots of trail runs, and then there's just beautiful scenery while you're there. And so, my strongest suggestion is to make sure that when you are traveling from spot to spot, you allow for stopping time to not only take pictures but to go on those hikes because we found these like crazy random waterfalls in the middle of nowhere that you wouldn't have known otherwise.
Hmm. And of course, Lord of the Rings was shot there. Did it look pretty similar?
It did. Absolutely. You could totally see it. Milford Sound is where the water scenes were filmed in Lord of the Rings. And the scenery is very diverse. When we flew into Christchurch, it was just a beautiful city. We went over Arthur's Pass that had big, luscious green forests and trains that wound through the mountains. You get to the Fox Glacier, Franz Josef Glacier area, and it looks like the Swiss Alps. Actually, a
Hmm.
little known fact that I found out when I was there, the Coors Light mountain range that they show on the Coors Light cans
It's
is
really
actually from New Zealand. It's not the Rocky Mountains like everyone believes it is.
that is crazy.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So that's all on the island as well. And then you go back when we went from Queenstown back up to Christchurch, it was a completely different demographic. It was almost high desert, rolling hills. So just in that kind of short loop that we did around the southern part of the island, it was completely diverse vegetation and From East Coast to West Coast, you can get there in just a few hours and see all sorts of different landscape. Absolutely gorgeous.
This is a powerful endorsement for people considering going. No,
I
I've
love it
not
there.
been. Yeah, I loved it. Anything you would have done differently to do it again?
There was only one thing that I would have done differently, and that was when we went to Milford Sound, which was very fun. We stayed at the hostel the first night. It was great. Got up the next morning, did a kayaking tour, which was magical. There was a rainbow over the water. We saw penguins playing in the water. I mean, it was just magical. But then we got done with our kayaking tour about midday, and we weren't scheduled to leave until the next morning, and there is nothing in Milford Sound. There is a pub, so it was like it's like dull afternoon. So my only suggestion, if I would do it differently, would definitely be go to Milford Sound, definitely do the kayak tour, but then leave that afternoon and move on. There's really there's no reason to hang out in Milford Sound for more than the day.
Yeah, well, that was fantastic. Thanks so much, Brooke, and I'll probably get your input on some of your European trips later.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all right. Well, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.